A face in a crowd, a bird outside your window, the smell of your own shirt. Gone. You didn't lose them. You never had them. Your brain deleted everyone before it reached you, and it is deleting millions more between the start of the sentence and the end of it. One influential estimate, popularized by the psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, suggests that roughly 11 million bits of information reach your senses every second, and that your conscious mind can process only about 50 of them. Neuroscientists still argue about the exact numbers. Nobody argues about the ratio. It is not close. It is not even in the same universe. Everything else is edited out, silently, continuously, by a system inside your skull you have never met and cannot argue with. There is exactly one moment in ordinary daily life when you can catch that system in the act. It has a name, and it accidentally proves that the world you think you're living in is not the world. In 1994, a man in Minnesota heard the phrase Baader-Meinhof gang for the first time. Within 24 hours, he heard it twice more, from two unrelated sources. He wrote to his local newspaper asking if anyone else had noticed how a new word seems to ambush you the moment you learn it. The letters poured in. Same story, different words. The phenomenon got his stray phrase as its name. In 2005, a Stanford linguist named Arnold Zwicky gave it the technical label. He called it the frequency illusion. Two mechanisms running together. Selective attention. Once you notice a thing, your brain flags it as important. Confirmation bias. Every time it reappears, you count the hit and ignore the miss. But here's where it gets strange. Zwicky was describing a much bigger machine than a word game. To see it, we go back to 1953. Imperial College London. A cognitive scientist named Colin Cherry sits a subject in a chair and clamps headphones over their ears. Into the left ear, he pipes a stream of speech. Into the right ear, a completely different stream. Different sentences, different topic, different voice. He gives one instruction. Listen to the left ear. Repeat what you hear, out loud, in real time. The subjects do it, perfectly. Then Cherry asks them what was in the right ear. Nothing. They have no idea. The voice could switch from English into German mid-sentence. The voice could reverse itself and play backward. The voice could be replaced with a completely different speaker. The subjects didn't notice. Their ear received the sound. Their brain refused to file it as language. Cherry called it the cocktail party effect. The name is friendly. The finding is not. Your brain is not receiving reality. Your brain is running a live edit. 1999, Harvard. Two psychologists, Daniel Simons and Christopher Chabris, film a short video. 6 students pass a basketball. The viewer is asked to count the passes made by the students in white. Midway through, a person in a full gorilla suit walks into the middle of the frame, stops, thumps their chest, and walks out. The gorilla is on screen for 9 seconds. Roughly half the viewers do not see the gorilla. Not miss it. Do not see it. Shown the tape a second time, they accuse the researchers of swapping the video. The gorilla was never the experiment. You were. Right now, in the room you're sitting in, there are dozens of objects, sounds, and patterns your brain has classified as irrelevant. The exact shade of the wall. The soft click your jaw makes when you swallow. A stain on the carpet you have walked past 3,000 times. The name of the courier who delivered your last package. All of it. Sorted into a bin marked ignore before you had any say. The editor decided. The editor doesn't hate you. The editor is busy. The editor has already made 1,000 decisions today about what you're allowed to notice, and it hasn't asked your opinion once. The frequency illusion is what happens when it slips up. You buy a yellow car on a Tuesday. On Wednesday, you see a yellow car at the intersection. On Thursday, 3 of them in the grocery store parking lot. By Friday, you are half convinced there's a shortage of every other color. There isn't. The yellow cars were there last week. They were there last month. Roughly 1 in 50 cars on the road is yellow, and that number has been stable for years. You just weren't allowed to see them. Yellow cars moved from the ignore bin to the notice bin. And now, for the first time, you are seeing the actual, ordinary frequency of yellow cars in the world, not more. The real number. Which was always this. The unsettling part isn't that you missed them before. The unsettling part is what else is still in the ignore bin. because it isn't just cars, it's faces. Anne Treisman, a British cognitive psychologist working through the 1960s, extended Cherry's work and found the same filter running on people. You can walk past someone you have known for 10 years and not see them if your brain has decided you're looking for something else. January 1995, Boston. A police officer named Kenneth Conley chases a shooting suspect over a fence in the middle of the night. On the far side of that fence, 3 other officers are beating a 4th officer, a plainclothes cop named Michael Cox, nearly to death. They've mistaken him for a suspect. Conley runs past the beating. He testifies later, under oath, that he never saw it. The jury doesn't believe him. He is convicted of perjury and obstruction of justice. It sounded impossible. You cannot run past a violent beating in the middle of the night and not see it. You just can't. So Christopher Chabris, the same psychologist who co-authored the Invisible Gorilla study, tested it. Years later, he ran an experiment. Subjects jogged behind a runner and were told to count how many times he touched his head. Along the route, 3 actors staged a loud, obvious fight, one man beating 2 others, yelling. At night, 65% of the joggers ran past and didn't see it. In broad daylight, 44% of them still didn't see it. Turns out it wasn't impossible. It's what brains do, and it happens in the places where the stakes are highest. In 2013, a Harvard researcher named Trafton Drew hid a picture of a gorilla, gray, obvious, roughly the size of a matchbook, inside a lung CT scan. He showed it to expert radiologists and asked them to look for cancer. 83% missed the gorilla. Eye tracking showed their gaze passed directly over it. It's whole categories of reality. Cultures without a word for a certain color often can't distinguish it from a neighboring shade until the word arrives. Grief scientists have found that widows will hear their late husband's voice in an empty house for months. Not a hallucination exactly. A filter that hasn't been told to stop looking for him. And here's the part nobody talks about. You are not the person watching your life. You are the person watching a heavily edited film about your life made by a director you cannot fire, who is deleting scenes in real time based on rules you did not write and cannot read. The Baader-Meinhof effect is the one moment the editor blinks, the one frame where you can see the cut. But here is the reframe. If the editor stopped, you would die. There is a condition called sensory processing overload, the closest medicine has to a brain with the filter turned down. People who experience it describe it as a kind of drowning. The seams in the wallpaper, the pattern in a stranger's shirt, the sound of the fridge, the pressure of their own tongue against their teeth, all arriving at equal volume with no ranking, no ignore bin, no signal, no noise. Just wait. A minute of it is exhausting. An hour is unbearable. The editor is not your enemy. The editor is the reason you can hold a conversation. Read a sentence. Love a single face without being crushed by every other face in the room. It deletes 99% of the world so the 1% can mean something. And every so often, it lets you in on the trick. It hands you a word, a car, a name, and it says, watch this. See how it works. See how much I've been carrying for you. The world isn't larger after Baader-Meinhof. It was always this size. You are just, for one brief window, allowed to see one more piece of it. Every second, millions of pieces of the world arrive at your senses. Most of them will never become part of your life. Not because they weren't there, because you were never built to carry them all. You have never seen the room you are in. You have seen a survival draft of it. There is more in your own life right now than you have ever met. You are new here, every day.